For the past 7 months, I have been working on the most important project of my life. Now, you've probably heard people say that if money was no object, or if all you could focus on was your passions, what would you build? And honestly, I thought that was a bunch of BS until I started this project. So I'm sure you're thinking, okay, that's all great, but what is it? Now, after weeks of thinking and tinkering and reflecting, I landed on building a shoe brand. Now, that probably seems a little bit out of left field, but let me explain. Now, I started building this brand in secret 7 months ago. Bam. And a lot has happened. So let me just give you the brief highlight reel of what has happened so far. I hunted for a shoe designer and found one. We made a design, but it didn't fit. So we tried again and it fit even worse. So I decided I had to take a step back and learn some more. After talking to some experts, they told me what I needed was a last. So I consulted some doctors and got the perfect fitting last created. I flew to Portland, Oregon to meet with a world-class last maker to get my last created. And when I finally got to test the last, it fit perfectly, but it looked like a crock. Gross. So I got a second last made and I'm getting that 3D printed right now. Then I interviewed 30 different designers to find the best designer I possibly could for this project. I landed on this guy, Andy, who previously worked at Adidas for about a decade, and Andy is a killer. Andy's produced hundreds of designs and we've landed on one that I think is really special, but I can't show you that just yet. Then I interviewed over 20 different factories and I found an incredible factory. But they're not cheap, but more on that in a second. And finally, I brought on an incredible branding team who has built iconic brands like Prime and Ghost to help assist with the branding here. And that brings us to today. That's been the highlight reel for me for the last 7 months. But there's just one major problem. What I naively thought whenever I first started this brand is that I could produce the shoes for $10,000. How expensive could it be? Well, after a bit of experience, now I realize that what a lot of people will say is that creating a shoe is one of the most difficult things that they've ever had to produce. The issue here is how much it costs to launch it. Realistically, if you want to compete with the big guys, Nike, Adidas, any of them, in terms of quality, you have to work with a good factory. And that's going to cost you hundreds of thousands of dollars simply because they don't take small order quantities. They want you to order thousands upon thousands of shoes out of the gate. If that number sounds shocking to you, trust me, it was for me too. But it made me realize why this industry has such a death grip on it. Because if you're just wanting to test a couple of products and see what people think before you go and place an order, it's not really an option. But they won't have a death grip for long. Because where there's a will, there is a way. And that is where Kickstarter comes into play. That rhymed, but that wasn't supposed to rhyme. So here is the game plan. I have exactly 6 months to go from a brand that nobody knows about to launching a hopefully successful Kickstarter. And after hundreds of designs and prototypes, I'm gonna have to give this my all in order to make this dream a reality. And one of the most important aspects for me in this is I'll be documenting the launch of this brand from its early infancy, where it currently is, to hopefully a successful Kickstarter and beyond. Now, for the last month, I've added some of my closest friends to a secret Instagram story where they could vote on the different sizings that I should provide, colors, and designs. Now, I want some feedback from you guys. So if you want to get added to that secret story, DM me close friends on Instagram. It'll be the first link in the description. So that way I could get feedback from you and you could see some of the behind the scenes in the most raw fashion. But that's it for now. I'll see you guys on the next video. Peace.